Hey, do you like money?
I mean, of course.
Then what if instead of selling our game once, we make players constantly pay for content while diminishing the quality of the product at the same time?
But only we benefit from that. Literally everyone else will hate us.
Yeah, but we get rich.
Where do I sign? By most accounts, the first recorded instance of microtransactions in video games actually goes back to an arcade game, Double Dragon 3: The Rosetta Stone in 1990, which not only makes you put coins into the machine to play it like normal, but also makes you put more coins in if you want to purchase in-game items. As you can imagine, people didn't like that a whole lot in North America and Europe, and it got cut from the later Japanese release. Then later came the free-to-play model, where the game is free, except it isn't, because microtransactions. A company called the Nexon Group, which sounds super evil, by the way, did a lot of stuff with this format, including an MMO quiz game just called Quiz. What? Why is this a thing that exists? And it was released in 1999? That explains why all we can find are low-quality screenshots. This format started to truly kick off in the early 2000s with games like MapleStory and Adventure Quest, but it only became mainstream in the late 2000s, early 2010s, with stuff like Farmville, Game of War, Candy Crush Saga, and Clash of Clans, all of which are things that you've probably heard of, and I try to forget about. That's when the problem got kicked up to another degree. It's one thing to have a choice between paying for an item and doing an in-game quest or mission for it, but it's another thing to just make people wait for stuff to happen on a timer, and unless you want to wait hours or even days to really do anything in the game, you better cough up some dough. Pretty much all popular mobile games at the time and still today use the freemium format. A study found that out of all the revenue that Android and iOS made in 2013 specifically, the peak of this phenomenon, 92% of it came from games like this. It's also no secret that the vast majority of this money comes from an incredibly small amount of people who spend truly absurd amounts of money on microtransactions, who are referred to as whales. There's a whole discussion on the psychology and ethics, or lack thereof, that come with this format, but we're just the nerds, so we're not going to focus on the important parts of the world around us. Now we get to a bit of a crossroads, a real Shibuya crossing, if I do say so myself. On the one hand, microtransactions were somewhat popularized by Valve's Team Fortress 2, because not only was the game made free, but paying money doesn't actually make you more effective at the game. It's mostly for cosmetics, and all the weapons can be obtained quite easily without paying, and all have upsides and downsides. Of course now, TF2 is kind of dead in the water, but it had a pretty good run. However, this is when microtransactions started making their way into full $60 releases. Grand Theft Auto 5, Middle-earth: Shadow of War, even my beloved Devil May Cry 5 also falls victim to this dreaded phenomenon. Not only that, but games started to do the TF2 thing, but started to do it worse, because now you can get the dreaded loot boxes, where you get completely random cosmetics. You can't choose to just pay money for the item you want. You pay money for the loot box in order to get a chance to get the item you want. Overwatch is an infamous example, but a lot of these games are still completely playable without needing to pay money.
Okay, fine. We'll talk about Battlefront 2. No, not that one. The 2017 one. Okay, why did EA call the new games Battlefront when their gameplay was completely different from the originals? And I know a lot of people, anybody with an internet connection during the fall of 2017 knew about EA's controversial progression system for Battlefront 2. So credits were the in-game currency you'd accumulate over time from playing the game or doing challenges. So you could spend them on abilities to upgrade the various soldier classes, unlock new heroes, or you could just drop $20 and unlock them all instantly. This is called pay to win, folks. Players estimated it would take roughly 40 hours of gameplay to accumulate enough credits to just unlock Darth Vader. This was obviously such a ridiculous amount of time, so it would force players to just pay up. So yeah, one most downvoted comment in Reddit history later, and EA revamped the entire progression system, and pretty quickly too. The game wasn't pay to win anymore. You know, there were microtransactions, but they only went to cosmetics now. But even though the game is fantastic today, I can only imagine how much bigger the fanbase could be if it didn't have such a disastrous launch.
Others have been known to go back on microtransactions, such as Middle-earth: Shadow of War and Payday 2. Payday 2's microtransactions were just cosmetics like TF2, but the difference is that TF2 didn't make you pay for new content updates, and Payday 2 does.
But nowadays, the pay-to-win loot box dark ages are behind us thanks to the Battle Pass. Fortnite's introduction of a Battle Pass system for paid live support has offered the best compromise between players and publishers, allowing the publishers to continue generating revenue while still making players work for stuff rather than simply paying for it all. And in most Battle Passes, if you play enough, they actually start paying for themselves, which is really cool. I never thought I'd say this, but thank you, Fortnite.
So in conclusion, microtransactions are rarely done in a way that people like, and because most of the revenue comes from whales, it probably isn't going anywhere anytime soon. However, we as customers and members of society still have a certain level of input over what games do with microtransactions, as evidenced by a few of the examples given here, like Payday and Battlefront. So, it sucks, but maybe it doesn't have to suck as much.